tonight. And let me just say, tonight our session is called Nutrition Myths Debunked. Nutrition Myths Debunked. And tonight's session is especially in keeping with the upcoming Christmas season, as I would have mentioned before. You know, sometimes we could get a bit carried away and excited for Christmas. So you want to make sure that you have a bright, prosperous, and healthy Christmas. Yeah? Okay. So facilitator tonight, whose profile I had opportunity to read before tonight, demonstrates significant experience in the field that she's going to speak to tonight. So in our normal traditional fashion as a church, we want to be attentive, supportive, and in the end, we would give, good feedback. So our speaker tonight, Ms. Dianne Bernadette Charles, God-fearing, meticulous, professional, adept in nutrition and dietetics, both at the hospital and community level. 37 years experience in managing the nutrition and dietetic services in general and district hospitals and providing medical nutrition care. Planning and implementing public education and training programs in collaboration with local and regional agencies complement her clinical experience. A graduate from Robert Gordon's University, Aberdeen, Scotland, and University of the West Indies. She's a registered dietitian of Trinidad and Tobago, past president of both local and regional nutrition and dietetic association. Her experience spans the Caribbean, being employed in the British Virgin Islands, where community dietetics open a whole new world to maximize opportunities to empower and encourage a client and enhance personal skills. She's a certified breastfeeding counselor and a Toastmaster, and she has a passion for the game of cricket and an addiction for the game of chess. And being a sport enthusiast, I'm sure she is well aware of what's going on with the World Cup as well. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure, and without any further ado, to introduce our speaker for tonight, Ms. Dianne Bernadette Charles. Ms. Charles, thank you. Thank you for joining us here tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. When Herman Brown asked me to do this presentation, I felt a little, I said, I would love to have done it in person, but where I'm living and coming there, a lot of things. I mean, look at the rain that we had, so that we thankful for COVID in a way, because then we would not have known how useful the Zoom platform can be. But I still feel close to you. And I trust that this evening, we will connect body with the mind and the spirit as well. Can I get co-hosts so that I'll be able to share my screen? Co-host privileges.
Yes, you can go ahead and share.
Share? Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, can everybody see the screen clearly?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, we can.
Right. So this evening, I pondered, what shall I speak about? And I thought I would take it from the angle of myths that are out there and explain them as much as I can. Of course, not all of it. I mean, there are many myths that we hear. Vegan is the best way of eating. Carbs are bad. Detox are beneficial. Egg yolks are bad for you. Keto is the way to go. Dairy is the devil. How many of you have heard these myths? Anybody want to hazard a guess at any of them that you have heard about and what might be going through your mind about it?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Hello? Somebody said something?
Yeah, I think someone said something, but then they probably muted their mic immediately after.
Oh.
So you can go ahead.
Okay. So these are just some of the, I'm going to talk about maybe some of them and see if we have time to go on to others that I may not have spoken about that probably you heard. Okay, we're going to be open to that in the question time. It's always confusing. It gets confusing what to eat, how often to eat, how much to eat. And I'm sure these are questions that keep pondering on your mind. And yes, we're going to go through it as we talk about some of these myths, but I would like you to be as interactive, or maybe what I will do is let me speak and then you jot your questions down, and then I'm going to definitely give you enough time for us to discuss after. So let's go with the myth number 1. All calories are created equally. Now, it is a myth. And I want to just go into a little rocket science here this evening. I'll just be a little highly technical right now as we speak a little bit about this energy, because I need persons to understand and appreciate this calorie story, because this is what is affecting some of us. Some of us are not eating enough because we are hearing stories about I shouldn't eat bread and I shouldn't eat this. Others may be eating too much, then you're overweight. So we need to understand about calories from the beginning. So I thought I'll put a little background for you. So let's look at metabolism. This is a biological term that refers to all the chemical reactions in order to maintain life. And your metabolism is important to convert food into energy, break down food into its building blocks for protein, lipids or fats, acids, and some carbohydrate, and to eliminate waste. And the energy value of a food is what is measured in calories. So when we speak about calories, we are speaking about what we have bound up in food. And I'm going to keep emphasizing that, because I don't want persons here to believe that they can take tablets, powders, and liquids and say that will give me all my energy needs. There are some categories of persons who may need these things if they are being tube fed, if they are really elderly, loss of appetite. Yes, there are needs for persons to have to be on liquid diets, but otherwise, healthy persons should not be saying that they're living on powders and tablets and liquids. Your calorie needs, my calorie needs are divided into 2 categories. We have basal metabolic rate. Hello?
Sorry to interrupt. I think the slides are not advancing as you're going through the presentation. We're still seeing just the first screen.
Oh.
Just wanted to bring that up.
How is that happening, boy? Okay, what do you see now? Your body's energies needs?
No, we're just seeing, we're seeing
Nutrition Myths Explained. That's still on the screen.
All
we can
right.
actually see the PowerPoint. So I don't know if we're not seeing the right side of the PowerPoint.
Let me see if I can close this out. Are you seeing anything at all? Nothing?
No, maybe you can stop.
All right, I'm trying to close it off. All right, let me go right through and see if I could. You're not seeing any slides moving.
It just frozen.
Oh, that is the original screen.
Okay, so let me see. My screen sharing is, oh, it says here your screen sharing is paused. That's why. All right, I'm going to stop share and start over. Let me see. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
All right, let me see. You seeing nutrition myths? Are you seeing the next one?
Yes.
Yes, it's loading good now.
All right, okay. So these were some of the terms that I was speaking about in the beginning. And I said that if there are anything else and any of the other terms as we go along. If you want to add, feel free, no problem. We can talk about that later. But I'm not going to mention, some of them I may not get into in detail. I then went on to speak about the confusion that exists with people trying to understand about what to eat, how often to eat, and how much to eat. So we're going into calories. Our first myth, calories are created equally. And I wanted to start by speaking about the metabolism. And I mentioned that metabolism is a term that refers to all the chemical reactions in your body, converting food into energy, breaking down food into its building blocks. You all have seen all of this. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. Are we?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yes, we are.
Great.
Yeah.
And eliminating our waste. And let me just put a point here as I remember it in case I forget how important it is to eliminate waste. So anybody here who is constipated a lot, or if you have children who suffer with constipation, elderly people, that's a big problem, okay? Because that's how we need to stool often to get rid of waste. Okay, so even, and this is all part of metabolism as well. It's bound up in this one word. And the calories are the measure of the food. So when we speak about food, we talk about calories, and this is where sometimes the confusion lies, because persons say, yes, that food has too many calories and I'm not going to eat it. So because, for example, I will eat avocado pear because it's a good fat, but I wouldn't eat a cheese sandwich because cheese is bad. No, what we have to look at it is, yeah, there's different types of fats and there may be different needs. But if somebody's high blood pressure, I might turn around and tell them, listen, you've got to control how much of that cheese that you eat. But one cannot say that one is going to not eat cheese and only eat avocado. Okay, we have to look at foods and appreciate the value that, yes, is in calories, but don't get caught up. We have to, that is why the confusion will continue. Then I went on to point out that our calorie needs are in two categories. We have basal metabolic rate, and this is the minimum amount of calories required for basic functions at rest. Yes, when we are at rest, there's energy, there's certain processes taking place in our bodies that demand energy. Rest and energy expenditure is the amount of calories your body will use while resting or sleeping. And your total energy expenditure combines the two, what you do at rest and your energy. And again, coming back to the point that when people don't exercise a lot or not a lot, but don't exercise and that they're always just at rest, so to speak, yeah, and you're eating too much, you could put on weight. How much energy you use, what you eat can affect your body's energy expenditure. Again, bringing up the point with the high fat foods or the type of fat you eat, eating high carbohydrates, which we talk about just now, that are not filling. So you eat white bread, you feel hungry quickly. I will never forget a gentleman coming on and a question was asked to him, what do you have for breakfast? What did you have for breakfast this morning? And he said 5 hops bread, white hops, and saltfish bouillon. And somebody in the audience remarked, 5 hops bread? He said, hops bread is nothing now. So 5 hops bread. Now, I am not knocking white hops bread. I'm saying we have to start looking at how much we eat, because that same individual was not expending energy as he would have liked. And that is why he had a big stomach. But the amount of food that he was eating was too much for his body's needs. So we have to look at that. Okay, so energy it takes to keep you alive, to breathe, and what you exert moving your body. When we take certain foods, protein, carbohydrates, alcohol, and fat, I'm representing these here to show you the different caloric levels. I'm going to use my cursor. So we see here water, no, okay? No calories per gram. The water is free of calories. When it comes to carbohydrate foods, your rice, your bread, even sugar, brown sugar, white sugar, okay? So all of those that will produce sugar will be equal to 4 calories per gram. So one gram, if you want to say 1 gram of well, I don't want to say bread, 1 gram of bread, so that if I know a slice of bread is 15 grams, I multiply that by 4 and I get how many calories in that 1 slice of bread. That's how we work it out in nutrition. But that is not what I will tell you if you came to me. I will talk in terms of slices of bread and try to get you to appreciate maybe weighing by cups and so, rather than doing multiplication. So we prefer to talk to persons when they come and they ask, well, how many calories, I want to lose weight, or I want to gain weight, or I want to know that I'm eating well. I tend to talk to you in terms of the amount of food that you eat, how many pot spoons of rice, how many slices of bread, as opposed to saying to you, have X grams of stuff, because that's just my practical way of doing it. Because when you go into the grocery, you're not going to buy grams, you're going to buy food. Protein and carbohydrates have the same 4 calories per gram. When we come to alcohol, you are getting 7 calories per gram. And when you come to fat, you're getting 9. So therefore, that is the reason why when you look at a teaspoon of fat will be twice, you could see the number of calories that you would get from a teaspoon of sugar. And this is another reason why, and this does not, I want to emphasize, it is not whether it is avocado pear, because avocado pear is in the fat category. It is not emphasizing whether it is olive oil versus butter versus, no, this is total fat we're talking about, all fat. When we talk about the type of fat, that's a different thing. We come into that in a while, okay? Calorie density is important. If it is that you and I are eating, we want to eat to feel satisfied. Therefore, I would suggest to you, have the whole grain or the cracked wheat or the multigrain bread, have the ground provisions more often than the rice, because those are high, those will fill you, this will give you a feeling of fullness. Same thing will happen with things like high fat food. So of course, when you eat fried chicken and fries or fried fish, you're going to feel fuller than if you just had a chicken salad. And therefore, again, emphasizing, if persons in this audience are trying to lose weight, or maybe you have blood glucose challenges, diabetes, and persons are saying to you, you've got to cut down on your carbs, or you have to make sure that you're feeling satisfied. So therefore, we measure the amount of calories you're taking in, and by saying to you have certain amount of food, but then we turn around and change the type to make sure that it will give you a feeling of fullness. So you take your notes, your questions, because some of you I know may want me to repeat this, but we will do it when, let me just go through some of these things quickly and then give you a lot of time to talk. 500 calories looks like, and all of these things I have here represents 500 calories. I want you to see how much oil, okay, is 500 calories. Remember I told you just now with how much oil, how many grams in a teaspoon of, how many calories, sorry, in a teaspoon of fat. Then we come to cheese. Look at how much cheese is equal to 500 calories. We move on to meat. Look at how much meat. So there you are. And then again, it's a smaller amount, but you see they are high in fat. And that is the reason why the smaller amount will give you the 500 calories. Whereas when you come to potato, rice, and beans, okay, they are the foods that we want, and the vegetables. Vegetables and fruits they're minimal. When you think of things like pak choy and spinach and dasheen bush, they don't have calories in vegetables. The calories that you're going to find will come from the beetroot and the pumpkin and the carrots. Fruits too. Yeah, you could tell me you will eat about 6, 7, 8. One Portugal will give you about 40 calories. Okay, so therefore, that's to tell you, you could end up, if you want, I know persons will sit down and eat 4 and 5 Portugals at one time. Same thing with mangoes. But it's because, especially as they are water fruits too, like watermelon, and so you'd find you could have more of them before you get your 500 calories. And plant-based foods will help keep you lean and satisfied. So I am not saying to you not to have your little meat or your cheese. I'm just trying to show you that we want you to start watching it with, especially if you're checking calories and if you're also concerned about your fat. So the physical amount of the food you eat determines your level of fullness. And then it goes on here. That's why we identify the stomach, because that's what happens to us. Why do our stomachs? It will stretch receptors on the walls of your stomach, will send signals to the brain, letting you know it's full. But you keep eating. And then the body gets accustomed to a certain amount. And this is where danger occurs sometimes. And especially, ladies and gentlemen, when we sit down after a hard day's work, or 7, 8 o'clock in the night, and we're going to eat. I wonder how many people on this platform had something to eat, had what I would call supper or dinner. Because by the time we finish here, and it's all what, minutes to 9, I trust nobody's going to have a plate of pilau or anything like that. Okay. Second myth, carbs make you fat. Yes, carbs make you fat. Okay. All these foods I have identified here will produce carbohydrate. They contain carbohydrate. So we know the obvious, the plantain, the flour, the oats. The legumes also contain carbohydrate or starch. Fruits will contain natural sugar, and the vegetables that I just mentioned will be your carrots, your pumpkin, your beetroot. The good versus the bad. Not all are created equal. So what I want to get across here when we're talking about carbohydrates, because remember what the myth is they make you fat. Any food you take that has calories and you consume too much will make you fat if you overdo it. So if you tell me that you have same thing like the gentleman with the 5 hops bread, and he has that, and plus when he comes at lunchtime now, he turns around and has about 3 to 4 pot spoons of rice, and then he comes now in the night and wants to have the same amount of meat. Of course that will make you fat, especially if you're not exercising. But please, it is not that they make you fat just like that. Because I need to get the point across tonight. Flour is not bad. And I know that probably within, again, talking to persons with diabetes, you have to look, if you're not having the flour, because these are the foods that you have to eat. These are the foods that will give you the glucose in your body to give you energy. Fat will give you energy, but we don't really want persons to have too much of it. This is where we want you. We want to make sure that you're eating your carbohydrate foods because you need your energy. When you get up in the morning and you're telling me you're just leaving the house with a cup of coffee or Milo or whatever you drink, and then you don't put anything in your mouth until quite 11 o'clock, but you fasted since 8 o'clock last night. No. And if it is that you're thinking about practicing intermittent fasting, I'm saying to you that if you're moving about, you have to eat. I'm not talking here about a religious fast, spiritual fast, where you might, I'm speaking here generally, where people just stop eating for X number of hours. And then suddenly now when 1 o'clock comes, great, I'm going to eat until 4. And then you fast again. You cannot be shocking the body like that, because then you're going to be taking in larger quantities than you want to take. So we want to practice the small meals often. And you might hear me repeat that again. So the good versus the bad. Yes, they have bad carbs, bad in the sense of these extra drinks that we drink, these sugary drinks. I want to make sure that you all are reading your labels and making sure we'll just touch a bit about that later on as well. But you need to look at that label. If you take up a drink and you see serving size 8 ounces, but that bottle in your hand is 16 ounces. The information you see on that nutrition facts panel is not 16 ounces, it's 8 ounces, which is half of that bottle. So there you are, you see 120 calories. I'm just using figures. You see 50 grams of carbohydrate, but under the 50 grams of carbohydrate, you see added sugars, 20 grams. That is not a drink for you. And for me to be taken on a regular basis. There are times when you may need to, but why are you pumping all that extra sugar into you just so? No, we have to be careful with the drinks that we are looking at. And I'm not saying that, yes, I'm speaking to persons who may have diabetes or want to lose weight, but I'm speaking to us generally. Sugar is the enemy. That extra sugar turns into fat, which is the other term that we use called triglycerides. Everybody knows about cholesterol, but Tonight, I wanted to tell you, remember that word triglyceride. If you go for a blood test and doctor takes your blood fats, they will talk about cholesterol, they will talk about good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, and they will talk about triglycerides. So anytime you take every morning, I could never forget my father and every morning he would be using sugary stuff, sugar like you don't know what. Couldn't understand why, and then he was old, he was in his 90s. Okay, but I'm saying to you that we need to be careful with this extra sugar. And we know where it comes from, not only the little snacks we have or the extra drinks, mainly it's from the drinks that we tend to have. White bread, bad carb, if you do it 90% of the time, because I will never tell you not to have any more roast beef. Okay, I'm saying just be careful. We want to promote whole grain, multi-grain. Pastries, cookies, cakes, of course, all of them have extra. And Christmas around the corner, I know some of you started to soak your fruits and so, but that's the time when all the, you walk into the grocery, you see all the lovely cakes and cookies. Those are the things we have to watch how much. The ice cream, the candies, ladies in the audience, when you reach into that stage, menopause, and after every meal, you want something sweet. You don't go for the entire 2-3 scoops of ice cream. Okay, it's the control of the French fries and the potato chips, all of those, we have to watch that extra fat. We want to get in, as I said, the whole fruits, the legumes, the seeds, whole grains, vegetables. I am not saying to go and spend money on quinoa and couscous. No, we have our ground provisions. We have our yam, the dashini cassava. And I'm not saying to you that you have to buy whole grain pasta either or brown rice. No, I am saying to you, 90% of the time, we want the whole grain items. So with that same white rice or parboiled rice that we add peas to it, and we can have a piece of cassava next to it, something like that. Okay, one is not saying that you cannot have white rice. Okay? It's all about your health. So when we come to myth number 3, where we're saying, I'm talking about all these whole grain, and I know some of you might be saying, but it's expensive. That's why I mentioned quinoa and couscous, because quinoa and couscous are not, if you have it in your house, no problem. But I wouldn't go and tell you have to buy that. Okay, so it's all about your health costs versus the food choice costs. And yes, those provisions that I am promoting, I would admit, every time I go every week, they're just adding on a little bit of extra. But that's why you go to the market as much as you can. If you go to the grocery to buy these provisions, please try to buy them when they're loose. Don't buy them when they're in the nice packets, because you can't feel them and make sure that they're healthy looking and don't have black spots on the sweet potato, etc. When considering the overall cost of your health, it is clear that processed foods are more expensive. Watch it. Sometimes we run, some of us every day we buying a meal that is prepared outside. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying watch your frequency. Fresh versus frozen versus box meals. Okay, again, you see the trend that is developing with the rotisserie chicken that you can buy. Of course, I buy it too. When you say I'm lazy and I don't feel like cooking the Sunday chicken, but we buy the fresh chicken most of the time. And better yet, if you could get it in the depot. So spending on a little more on healthier foods will save you money. I never said here about food in the bottle, liquid meals, or the tablets is food. I am speaking about food that we eat. Gluten-free, number 4, is the way to go. Gluten-free, that term gluten-free could be linked with the keto as well. Okay, because these are things that people are trying to promote outside there to help you lose weight and also give you a cleaner bill of health, a clean way of eating. If you have a condition where you cannot tolerate gluten, okay, yes, I have to advise you on the foods that are gluten-free, but I am not going to tell you to stop eating bread, because that is the first thing that you have to stop eating, the white flour, if you want to stay away from gluten. And this is where the trend is coming in, and eat the provision. And that is why it will be expensive, but it's not the way to go unless you have some condition. What is the way to go is to control the amount of the process, the white flour, or the flour, should I say, the flour. Because if you stop eating now the flour, which is gluten, you're going for coconut flour and the other flours out there, and they're not going to rise and make you lovely bread that you're accustomed to. So you're going to have to buy another thing, xanthan gum, to help it to do those things. So you see the expense, how it's coming? I am not saying that gluten-free is the way to go. It's not the way to go unless it is you have some condition. Low-fat foods are better for you. Yes, low-fat foods are better for you. But, let me make sure, right? But again, let's get back to reading labels. I picked up an ice cream the other day. Low-fat, healthy choice, something like that ice cream. The first ingredient on the back of the label was full cream or whole milk powder or full cream powder. Now, if you tell me something is low fat, I don't expect that to be the first. When you look at an ingredients list, the first 3 to 5 items are going to tell you what is the largest amount of that item in that product. So you're not supposed to see full cream milk as the first one because it's supposed to be a low fat food. But once you have heart disease, once you're high blood pressure, once you're diabetic, kidney, I will tell you. And once you cross over 40, I will tell you, start watching your fat. But I would never say to you, no fat. If you have a liver problem, yeah, we have to cut that fat down if you're not digesting. But we are eating too much. Half the time when we stew food, you know, long ago, Granny used to put the golden ray or the butter. At that time, I can't remember if it was golden ray, plus the oil. But now we are trying to get persons not to use both of them. Okay, avocado, people are eating avocados are good fat, but don't eat it as if it's a chicken bone, chicken leg. If you know you have hops bread, and why put butter plus avocado plus cheese? Avocado can be the butter and take away the butter. So I need you to start looking at these areas in your life. You want to buy a little fast food? Why buy fry and fry? Why not buy mashed potato with the fry or with the bake, with the fry, or go for baked with the fries and possibly look for sweet potato fries? These are the areas that I want you to consider. Yogurt is good for the bacteria in your belly. And we have seen a lot of people ever since COVID, and it has a lot to do with stress and so, and people are coming to complain about acid reflux and stomach problems, etc. And they go for the yogurt. But I want to just show you some labels that as we spoke about the label just now. And I want you to look at this yogurt. So this is a yogurt. Serving size is 1 container, 170 calories, okay. 85 milligrams of sodium, okay. Look at this, 33 grams of carbohydrate, but 26 grams of sugar. So within that 33 grams of carbohydrate, 26 grams is sugar, plus a little bit of protein. Let's look at the ingredients. Cultured pasteurized grade A, low-fat milk, sugar. So that's 1, 2. Sugar is the second one. Then you have your strawberries. Okay, why should sugar be in there at all? When I want to eat yogurt and I want you to eat yogurt, yes, it says with active cultures and so, but that's way down at the bottom. I should have been seeing the cultures up in the top here within the first 3 to 5. Okay, because I don't want vitamin D3 and pectin and acetate. And ladies and gentlemen, read your labels, be a label detective. Let's look at this one. So this is a probiotic yogurt. Look at the ingredients. First set of ingredients, cultured pasteurized, non-fat milk and non-fat milk solids. Contains active yogurt, cultures, etc. These are your bacteria. Nothing about sugar. Yes, I know I could hear you. Oh, yuck, that doesn't taste good. What are we taking the yogurt for? Because yogurt, let me tell you, yogurt is a great thing to start in the morning and clean you out a little bit. And I'm talking about 2 to 3 teaspoons and put your little fruit, start off with that. And you could leave the house and then have your little sandwich after. Okay, but this is a good way of getting good bacteria into you. Okay, so when the myth said, what did the myth say? The myth said yogurt is good for the bacteria in your belly. Yes, but it depends on what you buy. You want to make sure that if you're purchasing yogurt, you're going to purchase the yogurt that has more of the cultures in it. Number 7, egg yolks raise your cholesterol. Yes. If you tell me you love eggs and every time you eat eggs, you are eating 2 eggs at a serving, multiply 2 by, let's say, 5 days a week, that's 10. That, of course, will raise your cholesterol. It will add. Cholesterol is made in our bodies. But if I have to put you on a low cholesterol diet because you have some heart condition or something like that, I'm saying to you, listen, take your eggs, and 3 times a week you have the yolk. So 3 egg yolks a week. You could have the egg white every day. But it's the yolk that will have that, and it can raise your cholesterol if you overdo it and if you are susceptible, because that is, we make cholesterol. So if you are kind of person who's stressed out and hustling here and there, grabbing something to eat and not managing that lifestyle, you're going to be your cholesterol is likely to be high, as opposed to somebody who couldn't care less whether Sunday fall on Monday and they're going about their merry way. Okay, so let's just be careful. Eggs is a very, very good food, but you have to just be careful with how we use it. And yes, there are times when I may have to pull back in certain persons' diets. Organic, a lot of that is happening now. More expensive, definitely more expensive. Why can't I just go to the market, buy my items? Okay, when we look at things like the yellow watermelon that we're getting now instead of the red, that is some genetically modified. But organic, those vendors, those farmers, they are going to be using certain fertilizers, etc. I will not stop you, because there are some persons, especially those who may have cancers and so, who we will advocate that they should be looking at, as much as possible organic, because I know they put certain things, but I wouldn't say that you have to. I would say be a clean eater. But if you are already on the organic bandwagon, what I'm saying to you is, a lot of times persons look at organic pertaining to garden-based things, plant-based things, and yet within that same diet, they are having the regular chicken. So I need to see the balance. I need to know what's going on there. So it's a myth. It's not more nutritious per se. It's very expensive, but it may not be necessarily more nutritious than, say, the regular sweet potato, or so that you might have in your plant, or the herbs that you plant in your garden and you know what you're controlling. Okay, or if you have you're rearing your own chickens, and so you will know what you're feeding them. But I would not say that it is definitely more nutritious. It depends on what you're looking for. Okay. And as I mentioned before, as we go into, this is our second to last myth, it's best to eat many small meals throughout the day. I would say, yes, many meals, not many, let me bring that down to about 4, because a lot of times, and don't look at that as knife and fork meals. A meal could be liquid. You could have your soup and blend everything in that and then have it as a drink because you're on the go. Or you have time to sit down and eat the egg and bacon, or the pilau, or whatever the case is. But a meal could also be the same yogurt we spoke about. You put in your little seeds, you have it with a little fruit at the side. Okay, so, but what we are looking at here, it is best to eat at least 4 hourly. So we're looking at, I say 4 times. We're starting at 7 and probably finishing at 7. Because you want to make sure that your body is getting a balance of nutrition. Okay, and coming back to that metabolism, we've got to feed it. We've got to feed the body. And if we don't, with the right kind of foods, it would not go. And we're going to start to feel weak and tired. So this is why the many does not mean 6 and 7 and 8. I would say 4. 4 is a good way to, but a lot of people tend to eat, leave the house, first meal might be 10, next time 2, 3, and when you check again, oh gosh, I'm not so hungry. And if you're up late until midnight, you might probably sneak something in at 8 o'clock. We got to watch those things. People who work out need extra protein. Mr. Williams looks like a gentleman who works out, and I know Herman works out as well. But that is for people like the Usain Bolt and the Atto Boldans, who really working out. But for people like Mr. Williams and Herman, who might just be doing a couple laps or whatever during the, maybe 3 times a week, don't go and buy those big, huge protein powders. Why are you giving your kidney so much work to do? Because when you take in protein, that waste that we spoke about, the kidney has its way of converting that protein into nitrogen. Okay, and then it becomes urea, and then the protein eliminates it. But we don't want to give it more work than usual. So don't feel that because I'm going in the gym maybe twice a week, I suddenly have to go and buy bottles of or powders, protein powders. No, please no, don't get into that. The final tips: eating healthy doesn't have to be complicated. Take an inventory of what is already in your kitchen before you go shopping to avoid overbuying. And have a master list, that is things that you will need for the month, and have a weekly list, because obviously you're not going to go and buy tomatoes and so for a month. So there are certain, I look at my weekly list as my vegetables provision, my market items, let's put it that way. But then your milk and so, especially if you have powdered milk, that's good. But if you have liquid milk, well, no, you wouldn't keep that for a month as such, right? It's not safe unless it is in a safe, no, I still wouldn't encourage that, because once you open that, you have to use it up in 3 days anyway. Shop the perimeter of the store. That's where you have all your nice fruits and vegetables. Try new recipes or ways of cooking favorite foods. Veggies can be prepared in many ways. Ever heard of pumpkin pancakes? Ever heard of okra cake? Ever heard of oats patties mixed with vegetables? Look for local in-season produce. So now everybody will be eating their avocado and they're eating their Portugals and so. And replace your high-fat proteins with plant-based as much as you can. Better health is possible. And in the words of Mother Teresa, not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. So what we learned today, let us do the small things. And a small thing would be sharing it, connecting within the church, outside of the church. Thank you. And now the floor is open to questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Charles. A very, very informative session. I'm sure there'll be many questions on the floor. So I know some of us know how to use the raise hand feature, and some of you might just want to open your mics. I want to just invite you to choose a method and let's have some questions. There's a question in the chat. I'm going to read that one first and I'll recognize the 2 hands. Is okay. A caloric deficit diet or intermittent fasting diet essential way to lose weight and healthy living? And is there a difference between weight loss and fat loss?
Okay, so I'm looking at it here too. Is a caloric deficit diet essential to weight loss? Okay. Intermittent fasting may not necessarily be, well, it depends, because when you, first of all, yeah, is whether you're doing your five days eating and 2 days fasting, that could be considered intermittent, or whether you're doing on a daily basis, an 8-hour fast, 12-hour, etc. So when you're not fasting, the calories you take in, you have to be careful. So that's why I'm saying that don't look at it necessarily as caloric deficit. And it's not essential to weight loss, because healthy living, you and I, when we sleep at night, isn't that fasting? Let's hope that at least all of us in this forum are getting at least about 5 to 6 hours sleep for the night. Okay, let's just see. If you're a night shift, you should be at least getting some sleep in the day. But I wouldn't use the word essential, but I would say that yes, we would recommend reducing calories. So we calculate how many calories you were consuming and we work out how much food you should eat, okay, accordingly. If you want, remember with intermittent fasting, try your best not to fast when you are busy. People in this forum who might be busy workers and up and down stairs, or maybe into construction and these things, I am hoping that you're not considering intermittent fasting while you're working. And some of us do it even if we are housewives, because we get up in the morning and we hustling to get everybody out of the house and trying to put the clothes in the washing machine, do X, Y, and Z. By the time we sit down, we fasted from 8 o'clock last night until 10. But we tired, you see, and then we end up now eating, nibbling. So as I say, I won't use the word essential, but I would say, yes, we could incorporate, but just be careful how you do it. Please get advice if you want to do intermittent fasting. As I always say, you would find a dietitian in every health center. They wouldn't be there every day within our regions, and or most of you from Arima. So yeah, along that east-west corridor. And you will also find a dietitian in all of our general hospitals as well. Is there a difference between weight loss and fat loss? No. Well, weight could be water weight. Yes, I came across that today in a client I was speaking to. You could be putting on, especially if you have high blood pressure and doctor is giving you tablets, diuretics, and you looking puffy. You've noticed your stomach start to swell, your cheeks start to swell, etc. That is water you're retaining, or if you have a kidney problem, that is weight. Fat weight, definitely you will start to see it. And we see that it starts on the stomach. Sometimes we see it in the upper body. We have another set of weight too. If we have ladies and gentlemen who lift, not just lifting weights, but into this high intensity exercise, like CrossFit and these things, they will put on muscle, and muscle will now look like weight. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so the difference between weight loss and fat loss, one has to see what is your weight first, what is contributing to your weight. And yes, you're looking to lose fat, yes, because you could also, if your weight is because of muscle, you don't want to be losing too much muscle because you would look, mager. And don't figure that every fat person is fat because they have extra fat or because they're overeating. Okay, I think I answered everybody in the chat.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I saw Nisha.
No, somebody says here, Nikki, what diet suggestions would you recommend for those with arthritis? So we have to ask the question, is it osteo? Is it, well, different arthritis, but rheumatoid joint pains. Sometimes persons with lupus would have arthritis as well. If you're looking at arthritis, because as I age, the bottom line is there is no special diet. As how I could tell you, yes, there is a diabetic diet or there's a diet for high blood pressure. There's no special diet, but what I want you to understand is that this acid, is inflammation. Could be, watch and make sure that you're not taking in too many extra sugars. Sugars cause inflammation. Be careful if you're eating too much meat. Meat produces amino acids. So don't run away with the idea that it's only the fruits, because surprisingly, fruits will produce more alkaline in your body, not necessarily more acid. So you're looking at what will produce the acid and cause the bone problem. Osteoarthritis sometimes is linked to if you have a problem with calcium. Okay. All right. I hope that answers your question, Nikki. Before Tariq and Nisha, let me just answer the chat here. Could you repeat what you said about the high intensity interval training exercises? I think I was saying, I was relating the high intensity because that is an exercise where you develop your muscles. So therefore you could look overweight because it's, and especially your upper body, and especially as a female, depending on where it is that you are putting more of the intensity. So that is what I was relating it with. Okay. Right. Let's hear Tariq and then Nisha.
Could you shed some light on what is like whether it be.
You're sounding kind of muffled.
Are you hearing me now?
Right, correct. I'm hearing you better, a lot better.
Yeah. Could you shed some light on butter versus oil, like using whether it be Kerrygold butter or I can't believe it not butter, or salted, unsalted butter. You don't like if you're frying egg or if you're using a spread.
Mhm.
How do we like it have positive versus advantages and disadvantages of using any type of butter versus oil to fry, or any different types of oil that we should stay from, whether it be bean oil or soy oil and that
Yeah. Okay.
concept there.
Okay, well, seeing that you mentioned brand names, I would say, okay, things like they can't believe it's not butter, these margarines, they are processed, they've gone through what we call hydrogenation to become margarine, so to speak. I would say, I can't speak for all my other colleagues, but I would tell persons, yes, use your butter. I prefer that to the Kerrygold, and so that you mentioned you use that. The salted, but is the how much, Tariq? That's what we are looking at. How much? Because we love fat. Fat gives us a feeling of fullness. Fat gives us flavor. Fat is part of it. So that even if I say to you that same egg that you want to fry, I would suggest to you, why not just take the oil, heat your pan, take the oil, do it like a greasy frying pan, and don't drop the butter where you will end up now with the egg soaking up in the butter. That is where the problem is, you know. We can, same thing, I mean, I spent quite a few years in San Fernando, and I was learning how they do this chunking, and you don't need all that butter. Same thing with curry and these things, it's how much we add. So we can fry an egg without putting in all that oil. Oil now, we prefer that you use less, so that the soya bean, even if, okay, you're gonna use the soya bean, and then you have olive. Of course, if you have a heart condition and you have to watch your cholesterol, I would be recommending coconut, olive, grapeseed oils. But I still will tell you, do not use it liberally, and you cannot fry with, well, you could try, but if you turn that stove up, you can't dip your chicken into coconut oil or olive oil because it will just burn away. It's not, those are different makeup. They are made what we call, I don't want to use so many high technical form, but it's more of the oils that will lower your cholesterol, that will tend to help the situation, but it does not mean that you just use it indiscriminately, okay, and use a lot of it. So we talk about the butter. We don't want you using it together. So when I mentioned about putting the oil and the butter, no. You can stew meat without using oil at all. You could just burn a little bit of sugar, or if it is that you want to use the ruku or one of these other things, but we don't need all that fat. And what you didn't add in there too was sometimes when we are cooking, we leave the skin. That is another type of fat we're looking at, which we want to try and remove all the skin off that chicken. I know we love our pork with the little bit of fat, but we don't want to overdo it and be eating stew pork with every piece has fat on it, or every time we cook peas, we put in big chunks of salt, pigtail in that. Pigtail is fat. So when we look at fat, I want to also look at that other fat, which is the bad fat, what we call the saturated fat. Okay, but don't throw butter in the bin or say that butter is not good. It's the how much, and if it is salted, of course, if you don't have high blood pressure, okay, but I would go with the unsalted if you have high blood pressure. But I would still come back down to how much. So when you toast your bread, don't keep adding butter until you see the butter. Okay. Any other questions on that, Tariq?
No, thank you.
Okay. Nisha or Nesh? Nisha, yes.
Hi, good night. It's
Good night,
Nisha.
Nisha, right.
So my question is regarding like supplements, like if you decide to take like a multivitamin or something like that. So I've heard that you should, if you're taking a multivitamin, you should like switch it up in the sense that if I'm taking a multivitamin in Jameson's brand,
Yeah.
I shouldn't use that for prolonged periods. I should then switch it to another brand. So I just want to know in terms of if sticking with like a certain brand of vitamin, I guess, if that reduces the effectiveness of the vitamin, or if I should take a break, probably use a multivitamin for like 3 months, take a break for 3 months, and start back or something like that.
Yes, but you don't have to take the break 3 months. Now, you could take the break, like only take it 3 times a week because it's a supplement. I'm not too sure why. Let us assume that you need it. Let's say your blood count is low. Doctor told you that your blood count is low. They would probably recommend iron, but iron is not the only thing to help your blood. That iron needs to work with vitamin C. So it would be beneficial if you could get not necessarily a multivitamin because it's only iron you need. So what I wanted to say, sometimes we take multivitamins when we're looking for one. So we want to take calcium, we buy a multivitamin. No, if doctor says, or whoever says, look, you need to take calcium, get a calcium, something like a bone health, which will have vitamin D in it because you need vitamin D to absorb that calcium. But if you just feel well, and especially if anybody here not eating vegetables, and so definitely yes, but I mean, I will want to encourage you, yeah, the vitamins don't have the fiber, and therefore you might be taking vitamins because I'm not eating enough vegetables, but you're not getting that roughage unless it is your time you're going to have fruit. But still, fruit only has the vitamin C or maybe vitamin A. It will not have calcium and these things unless it is orange juice where they add it. So know why you're taking the vitamin. Don't take more vitamins and minerals than what you need. And you need to eat. There are supplements, that's the word you use, which is correct. And what is a supplement? Something you take alongside. So you're supposed to be eating because it's just like the oil and the gas. You have to have the gas, yes, to make the car go. But if you don't have the oil, it could also affect the car. So this is another problem. Don't feel that. That's why I brought that up early in the game, because you might take it in the form of tablets. Somebody else might take it in the form of a powder. Somebody else might take it in the form of a liquid, and that replaces the breakfast or it replaces the lunch or something like that. That would apply to somebody who needs it. But if you're just doing it to sustain my everyday, I would say yes, definitely, maybe 3 times a week, and that's where you take your breaks. Okay, but once you start to get constipated, to watch your vitamins. If you have allergies, watch it, because sometimes they're coated with things that could affect you. Some of them too don't take on an empty stomach. So you need to know why and make sure that you're not overdosing, because a lot of times they have more than what you need. And I have seen cases with persons taking in too much iron and their poor body can't get rid of the amount and it stores there. And then they have to go and take something else now to try and balance that iron. And if it is that let me tell you too, if it is that the Jameson or whoever says take 3 tablets a day, you don't have to, because you're eating as well. So you don't always have to. Okay, so I just want you to be careful with that vitamin and mineral intake. Okay.
Thank
All right.
you. We had a question in
the chat.
I have a question, a private question that came in about the avocados, wanting to know if it's bad to have avocado every day. I think the person said it helps them with their bowel movements, and if it's bad to have it every day, then
no, it's not bad.
Yes.
Avocado is a fat, so you take it as part of your fat. Just how you take it, how much you take is important, because you take it as a fat. You take it as how you would take, but as how you'll take butter, peanut butter, etc., a little piece. But if you're going to have a nice
smoothie, they have it as a smoothie every day.
Oh, as a smoothie, right? Glad you brought that up, because I would be interested to know what else is in that smoothie. But a small slice, please, of the avocado, but that's not bad. But that's your fat in there. So don't go adding full cream milk. If you're adding milk, add the skim milk, because you already have your fat in there, your good fat. But something else you said if it was every day, something else before that with the avocado. Oh, right. You said it helps you with your bowel movement. Avocado is seasonal. I want to know now, when you're out of season, please do not go and take laxatives or anything like that for your bowels. high fiber foods will help. Okay, high fiber coming from ground provisions, your fresh fruits, your vegetables, your peas and beans. Don't depend on avocado only, because you're going to be tempted to take more. But I am wondering if you're taking that avocado in that smoothie, if it is the avocado as opposed to what other things you have in that smoothie. And as I mentioned, smoothie, please, ladies and gentlemen, not 4 and 5 and 6 different things in a blender. Please, please not. And if you know you have blood glucose problem challenges, do not take like a whole 8 to 10 ounces of a drink, because you're going to spike your sugar. Yes, you have healthy stuff in there, but that healthy stuff, some of it will give you sugar in the body. That's the good sugar, but you don't want too much of it. When avocado is in season, we eat a whole avocado per person. What? No, 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 not a whole avocado per person. Please, no, that's too much. Treat avocado as if it were, how should I say? As if you were putting pumpkin or carrots or something. Don't eat and I know that whole avocado is probably a small one. It wouldn't be a big one, but still, that's a lot of fat you're putting in there. I hope that answers that question. I saw something with diabetics. Can diabetics indulge in sweet fruits like starch, mango, grapes? Of course, plantains. Yes, you can. When I dealt with the good carbs and the bad carbs, it's the how much. So the fruits that you call here, all fruits have natural sugar, but yeah, you are correct in that mango, purple, well, not, yeah, the purple grapes more than the green, bananas, pawpaw, and pineapple to some extent will have a higher sugar intake. So you cannot have a smoothie for diabetics with all those in it. Yes, you could have plantains, but you have to control how much. So you wouldn't put plantain and sweet potato. Or if you're having a soup, don't put pumpkin and carrots, because those are two sweet vegetables. Another question, what about banana, oat, yogurt, and low-fat milk? Okay, well, if you have the yogurt, you don't need the milk, but that's okay. You can put the milk in if you wanted to. Yeah, that sounds good. Just be careful. Make sure it's real oats. When I say this, not the oats in the pack that is flavored, that has more sugar in it. You want it to cook the old-fashioned oats. And something, what is laugh out loud. You guys have to share some of that avocado. Oh yes, I would like some. Is raw vegan diet healthy? Now, when you mean raw vegan, I am assuming, Listra, that you mean a strict vegan who doesn't eat any meat, fish, chicken, drink milk, doesn't eat eggs or cheese. So that if that is the case.
No, that is not what I was referring to. Good evening, by the way.
Yes.
I'm talking about raw food, nuts and different grains and fruit, no cooked food.
Uh-huh. Okay. Then it would not possibly be healthy, because what's going through my mind, how are you getting your carbohydrates in? Because you're not going to eat raw sweet potato and raw, you know what I mean? Or are you talking about those things because you have to have some cooked items? But I would want a blend. I would want a balance, sorry.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want you to be having I would like to see a day's intake for you on paper and see what balance, how you're balancing the nutrients.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, but there is this thing that's trending now with the raw vegans, and I know someone who actually has a place. She lives abroad, and she has a restaurant, and they serve raw vegan meals. And
okay, I will look that up, and I will get. Yes, okay, you're giving me something to look at. Let me just write it down. Raw vegan, but it would not be healthy, because right away I am starting to think, where are they getting these starches? You'll have to eat a lot of bread. So you have me thinking. Okay, so I wouldn't. We have to be very careful, and more so, I wouldn't want to have children having that either. Okay, Listra, I will look it up and I will
Yes,
send some
thanks.
info to
Yes, that's something I
Human.
wonder about.
Raw vegan diet.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
What are the most
Ms. Charles,
important?
we had an earlier question about banana, oat yogurt, and no fat.
Yes, yeah, that one is okay.
All right, and then I think we have a
just be
oats
careful.
question,
All I said is,
question.
use the real oats. Don't buy the packet oats, the instant oats, because that one has the flavors. It has sugar, too much sugar. You know which ones I'm speaking about?
Rolled oats and steel.
No, not the rolled oats. The ones in the little packets, and you see apple flavored, cinnamon.
Oh, the ones in
Big
Price
oats.
Mart that they just sell with different flavors.
Right. That's
Yeah,
not the ones
that's
that
not
I want.
good.
No,
Yeah.
no, I want the real one, like the rolled oats or the old-fashioned oats. And you could cook a batch and leave it, cook it thick, and then you add it to your smoothie. Okay, is it bad to have oats regularly? No, it's not bad to have oats regularly, but I come back to the kind of oats. And please add some milk, but oats is okay. Is Coke zero? No. Coke zero, zero Coke, whatever. Look at the other ingredients on the back of that pack. Now, if it is that you're going out and the person is reducing their sugar intake, and they're offered a zero Coke, or they accept one, okay, but on a daily basis or have it on your grocery list, no, because they have a whole set of other ingredients inside of there, potassium something, sodium something, and in the long run, that's not good. You're putting a whole set of other things in your body. Is equal and other low calorie sweetness good? Not in abundance. So the season is here. We now recommending the plant-based sweeteners. Okay, the ones that are made from cane, like when you want to sweeten it, like if you have to sweeten your sorrel, instead of the saccharin, equal tends to be like a saccharin base. So try and go more for the more plant-based ones. Okay, and not the ones that have saccharin. But again, you don't sweeten the whole bottle of sorrel and leave it in the fridge for 2-3 days. No, you sweeten your glass. Okay, whenever you're using these sweeteners, you sweeten your glass or your cup of tea at the point in time. What are the most important smoothies for diabetics with heart problems? Well, anybody making a smoothie, if you have a heart problem and where we're watching your blood pressure, please don't use, and for diabetics, don't use beetroot and carrot together. Don't use celery. These things have a lot of sodium. And when you're looking at heart, you're watching sodium. But they're also sweet, well, the carrots and the beetroot. So you have to be careful. So make a smoothie, but you don't have to put carrot, beetroot, celery, apple, and put in 4 and 5 different things. And then what matters is the quantity. Just a little 2 to 3 ounces, or maybe 3 ounces 3 times for the day, rather than a whole 10-ounce cup of something all at once, because we don't want spikes in the sugar. Can you add low-calorie cooking butter in your peas or anything else that you're cooking to add flavor? No, I want to get you all away from adding the extra fat. That is, whether it's low-calorie, that is just, again, low-calorie. For butter to be low-calorie, they have to add something else in it, and it gets very watery, because they take away something, okay? But we don't need, for me to make my peas flavorful, I'm going to put my cilantro and my Chardon Benny and things in there. Okay, we don't need to be adding butter. Some of us also add sugar to peas. We don't need to. And that's what I'm sure we're trying to, that is the extra fat and the extra sugar, we're trying to cut that off. Okay, I see somebody has for every night oats and almond milk. Okay. All right, I like variety. So I'm just wondering if you don't feel for something else sometimes, like a wrap with vegetables. But okay, at least you're having some carbohydrate and almond milk. Okay, and you can have the low-fat milk. Don't switch to almond unless you are a vegetarian, maybe. You don't have to feel it again because it's expensive. Anybody else with hands up? I'm just going through the chat. Somebody says, oh, not the cooks. Yeah, just watch it.
We have just a few more questions. We could probably just take what's left in the chat and
All right, and then Alisa has a hand up. What about juicing for treating cancers and avoiding solids? Is it recommended? We don't need to avoid solids unless the person, sometimes when they're going through the week before chemo or sometimes the week after chemo or treatment, they tend to have a very poor appetite. And yes, we would recommend we change the consistency of the solid so that instead of rice, we might say have mashed potato, or we encourage soups. But juicing, please, juicing is when you put it through that juicer and the stuff comes out in the bag. Do not throw away that. That is why I prefer blending, because then you put everything in. Okay, I hope that answers that question.
Hi, sorry
Alisa.
to cut, but my question is the same thing with the person who asked about the juicing. What meal plan is good for someone who has cancer?
Cancer, right. So cancer would be, again, sugar. First of all, I'm not talking about if you're diabetic. Sugar will feed. Cancer, it will feed and cause more, it will really feed it. So don't overdo, because when you now come to juice now, you will have that tendency. We have to watch we should watch the natural sugar. So we don't want to put too many fruits into there, plus vegetables. Now, the fruits and vegetables are important because you want to help boost the immune system, but you don't have to overdo it, because you want to be careful that you're not being excessive with the amount of sugar that you're giving the individual. Other thing to remember, not all the time, but most of the time, appetite will be poor. And this is where, and I spoke earlier about the liquid type meals, this is where in this cases like this, they have no appetite for food. That does not mean that you cannot blend and make soups and so, but you will need the supplements because they're not eating enough. So, and again, we come back to small meals. Somebody who has cancer, and depending on where the cancer is, if the cancer is in your throat, I could see that person may not even want liquids. And sometimes we may have to pass a tube. If the person has cancer, other parts of their body and their throat area, and so is working all right, they may not be, like somebody who has cancer in the leg or something, and it's affecting their mobility, but they may still be able to eat well. And so we can encourage them, but we want the small meals. We don't want large meals. Okay, but usually we find that it's when they're going through the treatment or when they're in a very aggressive stage. So like somebody with pancreatic cancer and these things, by the time you find that out, it's really far gone. And of course, sometimes if you have stomach cancer, I may have to change. Like for example, some persons cannot digest certain foods because you need to digest protein in the stomach. But if your enzymes are not there, something is happening, I may have to then recommend what we call, how to explain this? There are drinks out there where you don't need digestion in the stomach and they are milk-based. So like you have peppermint, those things are ready, ingredients are already digested, so it can pass through the stomach and the individual will still be getting nutrition, but would not need for that to be digested until it reaches way down in the intestine. So that you have to look at the stage of cancer, you have to look at the type of cancer, but a lot of times stick with the frequent meals and you've got to put in the supplements when they need it, when they have poor appetite. And most of the persons you will be going to either St. James or San Fernando or maybe a Sandy Grande, and there will be dietitians attached there. Okay.
There was sugar. There was a question of how much sugar, what is the least amount of sugar on the package that we should look for?
Oh.
From Sunita.
Okay. I would assume you're looking at a drink because you wouldn't find, well, yeah, like when I showed you just now, the sugar in the yogurt. But if it's a drink we are looking at, I would not want to see, because a woman should have 6 teaspoons. I wouldn't want to see more than about 10 grams, 10 to 15 grams. So 5 grams a teaspoon. I would say, yeah, about 15 grams if you had to, but look at your carbohydrate part. And if I say look at your ingredients first and see where sugar is, and then go to the nutrition facts list. Because there are times, for example, if you take a Malta, Malta is molasses, molasses is sugar. So therefore, you're not going to be drinking a whole, like, especially Christmas, you don't drink a Malta and a ginseng and shandy all in one day, unless you're going house to house paranging. That's different. But you're sitting down and you're probably at a function and you're drinking up all those three things. I mean, that is where we're trying to tell you to watch it, to get a balance, strike a balance, especially if you're looking at weight or if you're looking at blood sugar challenges, because that's where the sugar part would come in. And well, of course, cancer as well. But as I showed you with the yogurt, you don't want to have sugar. You don't need to have sugar in a yogurt because that's not what you're eating it for. It doesn't, you will add your fruit to get the sugar. So try to do that. Try to see if you can get the sugar naturally first before you add, before you take something that you have to add. And like the person with the zero Coke or with the Coke, remember the sugar there is the bad sugar. So that's the other reason. Anything else? Any other questions I missed?
There's a question about how to explain how important exercise is. And I think the last question you take is about healthy breads.
Oh, no, I see.
There's another question coming in. But
how can you make mashed potatoes? Okay. All right. So the what is the first one you said before the bread? I saw the bread with the
how important exercise is.
Oh, exercise. Oh, yes. I mentioned it with Herman and Mr. Williams. So exercise is important, but it's in type of exercise and how you do it. So don't go hot and sweaty and saying, yes, I'm seeing exercises, and you just run out tomorrow morning and go jogging all over the place. No, it's something that you have to build up and you have to get a pattern. But there are things now, it's so easy. You could just put on your YouTube and you have your exercises right there. But it's get a time and place for it. So don't say to me, you're going around the savannah there in Arima, and then you come home 8 o'clock in the night to eat your food, a big plate of food. No, don't do it like that and say that I exercise. Okay. According to your age and your stage, you have to be careful. If you know you have high blood pressure or heart disease, you don't go doing vigorous exercises. I know that I spoke about the high intensity. There's some individuals now, and especially the females, I see they're doing this CrossFit. It's a discipline. It's something like karate, but it's a high intensity, and one has to be very careful, especially if one has high blood pressure. And remember too, females again, you want to see parts of your body being developed, but know where you want it to be. So even when we were looking at the spin bike days, and spin bike suddenly has gone out of style, obviously you're going spinning. You're going to develop your thighs. When you jump on a scale, of course you're going to put on weight, but that weight was not fat. And there you are worrying and saying, oh gosh, I'm putting on too much weight. So exercise, know your exercise. You want to get some fat off around your stomach. Why are you walking up and down? Doing a lot of walking? You should be doing more abs, or maybe watching how you're eating. Okay, so these are the things you have to look at. Fake milk. What is fake milk, Nikki? Fake milk. Fake milk is condensed milk in my books. And the person who said, who asked, how can you make mashed potato without adding a little butter? Yeah. Why you can't use milk instead? Why you can't use milk instead? Okay. What you want to put the butter for? You want to add flavor. Yes. But you're putting the butter in the mashed potato to give it a nice smooth look. Milk will do the same thing. And then you put your little seasoning in there if you wanted. But you're not eating the mashed potato alone, I hope not. So therefore, the other things that you're eating it with will also give you a little extra taste. But you see how I wanted to cut off I'm seeing where the extra fat is being added in diets, and I'm trying to cut it out. I'm not saying never, never, you might go by somebody, but I want you in your house not to get into that habit, because the little butter today will become more tomorrow, and so we're going on. I just want to make sure I add. And low calorie cooking butter is butter. It's still fat. Okay, now I think I answered that question already.
And the
Don't want
types
to
of
go
healthy
spending
bread?
extra money. What's that?
Healthy bread. What types
Healthy
of bread?
bread. What is healthy bread? What type of breads are healthy? Your whole grain, multigrain, cracked wheat, even your homemade bread. And you're throwing, I want you all to start adding vegetables. I give you some examples there. Why you can't make pumpkin bread? Why you can't make carrot loaf? We make carrot cake. Why we can't make carrot bread? What do you do with your leftover vegetables? I remember we had a little camp for children and we were trying to get them to make sandwiches, the ribbon sandwiches. When we make ribbon sandwiches, you all know those sandwiches with the yellow, green, and red? How do you get the green and red? What do you do with the cheese? You put a color in. But what we did is that we took the leftover carrots, we pureed it. That was the red with the cheese. We put the leftover body, we pureed it. That was the green with the cheese. And it ended up with a ribbon sandwich, but you had vegetables in it. So I want to see you all coming up with your recipes, coming up with your different ways. That is what being healthy is about. You don't have to eat vegetables with rice and with macaroni and that sort of thing. And it's not extra work either, because you're finding ways to use your leftover. The same way you make sahina. What we do with the extra spinach on it, but it's fried, yeah. But you could put why we can't have pak choy bread? I remember we did currant roll and we put the pak choy mixed with the currants. And when you cut it, you see the green stringy thing with the currants and the children ate it. Okay, it's just a matter of trying new things.
Yeah, so
is banana bread healthy? Yes, banana bread is healthy. Just don't add more sugar. Don't go and tell me you're having banana bread and you're going to put thick jam on it. That thing's sweet already. Why are you adding more sugar? Yes, banana bread is healthy. And mix banana with carrots the next time. And I wanted to kind of put out something to you all there when you're doing your fruit cake. What do we put in fruit cake? Currants, raisins, prunes, mixed peel. Why we can't pull back the mixed peel and drop in a little bit of carrots and little vegetable in it? Nobody would know it's in there. Cut back a bit on the dried fruit and it will still be just as nice, I'm assuring you.
Really awesome tips.
And watch your ham. Anybody who has high blood pressure, please, please watch your ham over the Christmas. Watch when we're making all the nice pies. And so why do we have to buy spaghetti sauce? When we're doing the stuffing for the turkey, why we have to buy the box stuffing? Why we can't make sweet potato stuffing with breadcrumbs? You know, we still having a lovely Christmas. I didn't tell you to have a diet Christmas, and diet is what you and I eat. I am just trying to show you little ways in which we could turn things around. Okay, well, I think I've kept you all here too long and I don't want anybody to be...
It seems like nobody wants to go. All the questions keep rolling.
Yes, it's homemade bread. Can you add shortening and butter? Yes, yes. If you put in wheat bran, you don't need whole wheat. And you don't need flaxseed. You can put the flaxseed, but you don't need to put the bran plus whole wheat flour because the whole wheat flour has bran in it. So you can decide whether you want to put the bran into the white flour with your flaxseed. But yeah, you could put your shortening and your butter, but you don't have to make it buttery. Same thing with garlic bread. That is too fattening. That is, you know, you eat your garlic with whatever, but don't buy garlic bread because that's just the garlic that they put on the butter. It's not to say that the bread has garlic in it. Okay, so don't overdo. I am sure this person who makes, who's this, Vanessa? I'm sure this person who makes this homemade bread doesn't have any problems with her stools because she's having high fiber every morning. Just be careful, Vanessa, how you cut that bread. Don't junk it, slice it. You know, we junk homemade bread, we don't slice it.
Okay, all right. Well, I think thank you, guys. We may have to stop with the questions. We really appreciate the time Ms. Charles has taken tonight to spend with us and sharing such wonderful tips, such wonderful information, debunking some of the myths we have. I know it probably raised more questions for us. And I mean, and you pointed us to a lot of resources that we can access even in the local healthcare system, where we can go and consult with dietitians to get the type of advice that we may need for our body type or what our issues are. And I got that from the session as well, that we cannot just take an approach for one for all, but we probably need to get individualized attention or help regarding our own issues in our body and get advice that's appropriate for that. But definitely tonight has definitely opened our eyes and given us some new tools that we could use in our kitchens and in our shopping, our meal planning, so that we can live healthier lives. And yes, I realize it will affect some of our Christmas as we talk about drinking, not drinking too much. You know, you want to come to the Christmas.
Right, not drinking too much.
Shandy and all that. Then because it has apple J, you drink an apple J.
Yeah. And then when you come to eat the cake, on the plate is the cake plus the red velvet cake plus the blob of ice cream. Why do we, Christmas is a weekend. Why we have to eat all of those things at one time? That's all I'm saying, you know.
Yes, yes, yes.
I am not saying I don't want anybody, because Herman would be mad at me if I give the impression that you all are not going to have a good Christmas. Yeah, no way, no way.
Yes,
no
yes. Well, I'm glad you mentioned him, because I'm going to bring him on now, because he's closing us off, giving the vote of thanks. It was his initiative, and we appreciate him for giving this opportunity. So, Brother Herman, I'm handing over.
Well, you know, it's quite clear you already give the vote of thanks to Dianne. You did an extremely good job. And just for clarity, Dianne, the young lady who just spoke with you, that's our pastor's wife.
Okay.
She's also a pastor at the church. Okay. And I want to thank that young boy who saw opening the session. That young
Mr. Williams, yeah.
That you call Mr. That's our senior pastor in the church.
Okay. Okay.
That's our senior pastor, and his wife is the other pastor in the church. So we thank them for even sacrificing the normal Bible study tonight for this wonderful session.
Okay.
And I also want to thank my brother Edwin Humphrey, because this session falls under his ministry. He's the person in charge of sports and health, and it's through him who I fall under that we're able to have this session. You want to give coach, he's better known as coach, right? You want to thank him for making this session possible. We thank you for the pastor for giving us the opportunity. And Dianne, we can't thank you enough for a wonderful session. All right.
You are most welcome. And you know, I really would like that somebody makes a change with 1 point at least.
Yeah.
And that is all that I would like to see, that you don't look at this thing as being expensive, but take a look at yourself and ask yourself certain questions. And Herman is always there. If you need to get my contact or so, he will give it to you. Okay? Yes. But thank you a lot. I really enjoyed it. I had another session last night. So, you know, it's very rare that I have two back-to-back. One was with the Anglican Church in San Fernando, and now with your church in Arima. So I really look forward to it. I
was thinking I would send you a lovely cake for Christmas, but I changed my mind. It might not be good for your system.
No. You send me a cake. I will not eat it all the time.
Yeah, so okay, so I thank everybody, and I want to thank for all of those who took the time to be a part of this session tonight. It was a beautiful session, and I will now close off in prayer. Father, we give you thanks for such a beautiful time. We thank you for the teaching. We ask you not just be hearers, but help us to follow up and put into practice some of the very valuable advice we got here tonight. Help us, in what we enjoy our Christmas, help us to be at the same time have some discretion in how much we take in. We give you thanks in advance for keeping us over this season in Jesus' precious and holy and mighty name. So good night, everybody. Dianne, thank you very much. Sister Alvarine, thank you very much. And everybody else who participated.